Hello, hello, hello. Good day, good afternoon, and good evening. Wherever you are, welcome to the 9th Town Hall. Let's do a quick voice check if you guys can hear me. And let's see if my voice is clear in Discord. Obviously, everything as usual. We're just checking in if you guys can hear me. Yes, you can hear me. Alright, welcome. Welcome to the Town Hall number 9. I really appreciate everybody who's joining in today and who's listening to this and who is hopefully there for a little bit of what's brewing and what's coming in this community and what's going on in the Bitcoin space in general. Today I do have a couple of topics that I want to share with you because I do think they might be interesting, and whenever you do have any questions or anything else, leave a comment down below under the video if this is uploaded later onto YouTube, or if you do feel that you're in the audience to have any questions, feel free to ask them. We do have a chat, just use it and try to interact with us. So today I'd like to share with you a couple of experiences that I gained over this weekend, because on this weekend I've been attended to a privacy event at a specific hotel, at the so-called Bitcoin Hotel in the southern part of Germany. And I've been there, I've given a speech about this community, about OpenSUSE Miners United, and afterwards I've held a workshop about how to build your own Bitaxe device. So this is the topic number 1 I want to talk about today. After that I want to talk about a couple of live streams, as well as the Runes protocol and what else is brewing with the current change that we have experienced with the Bitcoin blockchain. So let's start right into this, and let me explain you a little bit what I have experienced with this so-called privacy event at the BTC Hotel. So first things first, the Bitcoin Hotel is the Hotel Princess in the southern part of Germany. It is located in a city called Ploching, and this city is next to Stuttgart. So whenever you do come along Germany and you do feel like the need that you want to stay in the southern part in a hotel that does accept Bitcoin, just check them out. They're pretty cool, and it's quite comfy there. But nevertheless, let me speak about the privacy event that has been held there on this weekend, and let me share with you the experience that I gained there and what I've seen and what I may have not seen and what I do think about it. So this event in general was all about privacy. We had various different speakers about various different topics. For example, some topics about Graphene OS, something about Ronin Dojo, coin joins, the Samurai wallet, the UTXO usage, as well as your management in general whenever you do any transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. Before I do go over this, let me quickly take a look on the chat. It seems like that Sir Vapes does have a couple of updates for the OSMU community. Afterwards, we are done with the main topics. That's brilliant. And obviously, I didn't mention this, but I also want to go over a couple of different announcements or just changes over the current section of what these projects that we do have in our community are currently evolving. So I'll also try to dive into this topic. But let's go back to the privacy event. So in this Bitcoin Hotel, the privacy event was held by the inventor, or not inventor, probably he's called Orange Mike, and he's on X. So whenever you do have the need for getting a little bit more education in privacy terms when it comes to Bitcoin, just check him out on X or on YouTube. He does have a YouTube channel there as well, and he felt the need for talking about privacy. So therefore we had the first day, and let me quickly open up the timeline of these days, because it was packed with events. It was packed with stages, with people that are just talking about what's going on, and therefore I just want to go over these things that we had there. So I drove over there, and then we had the first couple of speeches. So the instigator, Orange Mike, he did a little speech about what will be on this event, what will happen there, what kind of workshops we will see. And afterwards, I started right away with my talk about OSMU. So I brought up the Open Source Miners United community to the German part here. And I talked about us, what we do, what our intention is with this community, and why we do feel the need for open source products. And after that, we had lunch, and then we just shared a couple of thoughts about Bitcoin in general. And to be honest, the first day on Friday was just a little bit lazy, not in terms of what we did, but what happened there, but in terms of we didn't want to overload this event on the first day. So therefore it was pretty quick over from the event side, but we had good conversations with people there, and obviously we all waited for the halving event. And it was getting late there. I was up till 4 a.m. I believe. It was a really tough day for me because the next day was starting really early at 8 a.m. So therefore I didn't have that much of sleep, but it was all right. It was all right. So we stayed up we really stayed up really long, and yeah, it was good. We had discussions about everything, especially about finance and why we do feel there's a need for Bitcoin, and everybody just shared his thoughts about Bitcoin and how he got into it and stuff like this. And the next day started pretty quickly. So we got up at 8 a.m., some people even earlier, because every single day was starting with some sort of a, I'm looking for the English word for this, but I believe you can express this as a meditation. Yeah, that's the correct word for that. So every day was starting off with a meditation of just relaxing and stuff. I didn't attend to it. I do love my coffee and I do love my baths. I'm sorry, but I didn't have a chance to attend to these meditations. But other people did, and they called it as a good meditation and a good start in the day. So I do hope that these people enjoyed it. But after this, on the second day, it started off with a couple of workshops and speeches of people who introduced a couple of things, such as the usage of cookies in the web space. We had someone who, and I'm sorry that I do not remember the name of some of these people, but we do have someone there on the stage who was talking about cookies, how they are used, how you could prevent the usage of cookies, and in general just I tend to talk a little bit more about the privacy terms and the concerns about cookies whenever you do try to open up a new web page. Afterwards, we did had a talk about password management, which was really interesting. And to be fair about this whole event, it was more of the beginner side. Some of these events and workshops were a little bit for the advanced people, but most of it was for those people that are concerned about privacy terms, especially when they use their computer, or especially if they do use Bitcoin. So these events that we had there were mostly on the beginner side. I didn't have the chance to attend to all of those, but I tried to listen to some of them and just give my opinion on a couple of these things. So as I said, we had someone who talked about cookies and the usage of them, as well as the back end of servers when it comes to JavaScript and stuff like this. And then we had a couple of people who talked about Graphene OS and password management. I need to separate this quickly. So we first had an event and a workshop about password management, where they got over the typical usage of password managers. And I do believe most of the people that are attending here and listening to this right now or later on YouTube do have some sort of a password management. I do hope none of you does use the book and writes down the passwords. It's a way, but it's not really that safe, I'd say. Whenever your house burns down, you are in trouble. So please do yourself a favor and use a proper password manager. I don't want to give any advice on what kind of software you should use. Just do your own due diligence and figure it out. It's not that hard. It's super simple. Some paid versions are good, some paid versions are bad. Don't trust, verify, always try to take a look on it. So after this password management, we had an attendee there that was talking about Cubes OS. I never touched on Cubes OS, so I couldn't tell that much about it. But it from the experience that these other people shared with me, it turned out to be a good one, and they got a little bit of insight of how you could use Cubes OS in general. Afterwards, we also had the talk from Orange Mike, who was talking about, in general, Ronin Dojo, the Samurai wallet, and how you could use, for example, an old Android phone in order to have some sort of a cold storage, as well as some sort of a air gap device. And for those of you who might not know what I'm talking about here, we're talking about the enormous or the infinite thing that you want to use whenever you want to not share your device with the online internet. So you ideally would have a second device, like a second phone, that you never use on the internet. So you never connect it to Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, or mobile internet connection. So therefore you just turn off everything. You don't have a SIM card in it. You just use the device as your cold storage. Therefore you need to sign transactions on this device, and later on use the QR code that this device produces, or you use a USB stick and then just upload to this USB stick the signed transaction, use it with another device that only can read this transaction but not sign it, in order to then broadcast the signed transaction outwards to the public internet, which is pretty interesting and really got me into this, because I do love the fact it's more on the advanced side, to be honest. And it's not something that everybody should use or should be concerned about. Some of these techniques are a little bit tin-headed, I'd say. That's a common term that I use there. I'm not saying that these people are crazy, but some of these techniques can become really crazy. So therefore it was really for the advanced people, the people that do care about privacy at their highest limits. And I do feel like these people that attended there, and the room was really filled. We had like 50 to 60 attendees there. This hotel had plenty more space, but it was a good event and plenty of people assigned to this. So therefore I do think the resonance of the overall event was pretty good. Furthermore, we had a workshop and a talk about Graphene OS, which also got me into this. There was a company there who also has been a sponsor of this event, gladly, because this meant to all these attendees there that we had free drinks, which was really great, especially for German beer. If you can drink for free, you drink more, you know? It's always funny and it's always good. So that was pretty good. And the company that did this sponsoring, they also did a talk about Graphene OS, how you should use it, how you could use it, and in general what kind of device you use with it. Usually these days Graphene OS, if I'm not mistaken, is only supported by, or does only support these Google Pixel devices. I don't use some of them. I don't use them, so I can't relate it. And I can't really tell more about this. I just took a look on it, and I do know how Graphene OS works, and I do like a couple of these aspects that it does give back to the user, but I don't use it in my general daily usage, so therefore it was not that for me. After that, we also then had like a general talk about UTXOs and the usage of them, and this pretty sums up the second day, I'd say. Because we also had a couple of breaks between those workshops, especially at some point it was getting late, and people, you know, if you do attend to an event and there's so much overload, so much more new information that you just need to grasp and figure out, then you do need a break, you do need a new German beer, and then you can call it a day and learn a little bit more, I'd say. Then we also had, basically every evening we had a live stream, or some sort of a live stream, because we were broadcasting from it, obviously in German, but it was a nice event, and we talked about plenty of stuff. I didn't try to get myself too much into it, but the people talked mostly about financial stuff. Some of them talked about prices, jokes and stuff like this. That's not the part that I'm interested in. I'm more on the technical and software part, so therefore I wasn't really attending to this sort of conversation. But I do enjoyed it, and I was listening to it. It was pretty good. And then the second day was pretty much over, and the last day, today, was also starting pretty early. I got up at 8 a.m. and at 10 a.m. I had my workshop, which was set for around 2 hours, which is usually pretty short-handed, to be honest, because whenever I do a workshop here in Germany, I usually use 2.5 to at least 3.5 hours, because I do know most of these people that do attend to these workshops either never have sorted in their life before, or they're completely new to the topic, and I need to teach them step by step how to use this hot air station. as well as just the general usage of these tiny ICs, how you place them on a PCB. But it was pretty good. I had 6 attendees today, and most of them were really interested in it, and I answered pretty much every question, like questions about what does this IC do, why do I need to sort it in this direction or not in another one. So you'd say maybe these usual questions, but it was really good, and a lot of interest in it, and I had a lot of fun. I was a little bit on the hurdle because, as I said, I needed to do my whole workshop in just 2 hours, which was a little bit tough, to be honest. What I usually do is, whenever I do my workshops, is that I do guide them through the process of, okay, how do you hold your soldering iron or the hot air station in this manner specifically, and how do you identify how you need to place your IC on the PCB, because this can be a little bit tricky, especially if you do think of C13, for example, which is this big capacitor right underneath the ASIC chip on the Bitaxe Ultra. When you do take a look on it, there is one line, and I always do it as a joke. I always tell these people, okay, take a look, find C13 on your PCB, and now take a look on the IC and tell me, what do you think, which direction does this device goes in? And in 99.9% of the time, these people tell me, all right, the line needs to close the line, which is not correct. Like you don't need to do a rectangle with closing the line. You need to put it on the closed side. And yeah, it's just funny. Probably I'm just a nerd. I'm sorry about that, but it's usually funny. Let me quickly take a look in the chat. Sir Absolute wrote, that's always amazing to hear. You're not only exposing people to Bitcoin and the Bitaxe in a friendly manner, while also teaching them a skill they will take with them for the rest of their lives. I do hope so. I really do hope so, that these people do take this, or what I teach them, with them for at least a certain amount of time. But yeah, we'll see. What I usually do love about this fact is that these people, some of them have some experience with soldering and SMD soldering and stuff like this. Some of them don't. But usually the resonance of these people is always friendly, and they always love to learn more about it. Especially, think about it back when did you saw an ASIC chip for the first time, like on your hand, and what was your grasp about it when you saw the size of this? This tiny device in your hand is doing the magic of Bitcoin. It's always like, whenever I do tell these people, okay, take a look, that's the magic behind Bitcoin. That's how Bitcoin works. This tiny device does this, and people are always getting crazy, like, what? That's it? That's an ASIC? Okay, they're mostly stunned, which is just an amazing experience for me, because I always do see these people, and I always love how their experience with this and their first-hand experience with this is. I always love to see that, and I always do get positive resonance about this, so that's pretty good. And I do hope that these people will come back to this, how do I put this in the right manner, like when we've been children, we always had this manner of seeking new knowledge and exploring new things. For example, you are not supposed to put your hand on a hot heat plate, but you need to experience this for your first time. So you're kind of an explorer on this planet, and at some point in our life we do lose this. And what I try to achieve here is just to bring back this seek of knowledge there, this interest and this explorational interest back to the people. And at least I do have the hope that I can give this back to a couple of them. And so far it turned out pretty positive, and a couple more workshops will come up this year in Germany, and hopefully next year I can become a little bit more international and can go into other countries and do this there as well, because I'd love to share this experience with even more people. We need to have more workshops than just me and Decentral over in Canada. We need more people that are doing that, because it's lovely. And I always do this as a non-profit thing. I just do this for the educational part, because I do believe in it. I do believe in our community, in this movement that we do have here, and I do love it. It's always a stunning factor for these people whenever I do tell them, because what I try to do is I'm always 100% open with them. So people come to my workshops, and obviously upfront they need to pay a certain amount of money, and as soon as they attend to my workshop, I tell them why is the money this price? Why is it not lower? Why is it not higher? And I always tell them why it is the way, that I do not earn a single penny with it, and that I just do it for the greater good, the good in Bitcoin, and the trust that I do have in these people. And I think that's the right way, but I also do see that there could be the option for other people to do a workshop which is more on the paid side. I do not say that's bad or that's good. I don't have an opinion about that. That's always fine with me. Do whatever you want, do what you like. As long as you do love what you do, it's totally fine. All right, I do think this pretty much sums up what the BTC Hotel privacy event was for me, my experience with it. I could dive into a couple more good conversations that I had with a couple of these people, but I don't think that's the main topic here today. I want to go over to one of the most interesting things that has happened on this weekend, the BTC halving. But before I do that, let me quickly take a look on the chat. Rain Bitcoins wrote, "So true, one clue about carrying these skills with me for the rest of my life. Since I've picked up these new skills, I've been exploring employment opportunities as a soldering small electronics assembler." Amazing. Nothing too serious, but something entry level. There are quite a few opportunities available in my city here in Toronto, Canada. It's awesome. That's lovely to hear. That's really lovely to hear. It's just the way, you know. We get into Bitcoin and it never ends that we can experience something new, or at least learn something new that we never knew before. I usually do have this conversation with these people that they come up to me. I show them this tiny IC, this ASIC chip, and I tell them, take a look on it. That's the magic behind Bitcoin. And usually in this situation, most of them are stunned because they never thought about that this tiny device is doing all the magic behind it. But yeah, that's a good one. And then some of these people do come up to me and ask me, all right, let's take a look. How does the actual process work, and what's behind it? And then I got into this because Scott told me, and therefore thanks to you, Scott, for showing this to me or explaining this to me. I didn't know this before Scott told me, so I just tried to give my experience and my knowledge to these people so that they also can experience this and learn about it. What I'm about to say is that we do take a look on this tiny IC, this ASIC, and we are just grasping how tiny this is and thinking about the beauty behind it, that this is the whole magic. And then I do usually go a little bit forward and I do tell these people, all right, listen, this tiny ASIC chip here is not only the magic behind Bitcoin, but guess what? This ASIC chip will never ever produce a single Bitcoin SHA-256 hash. It cannot do it, which is counterintuitive, and is just when I heard this the first time, I was stunned. I was like, what? This chip is doing the magic, but it can't do this? And Scott told it to me. No, this tiny ASIC chip is just doing the nonsense, the calculation on this. And then these control boards that we do have, or with these Bitaxe devices, the ESP32 that's sitting on there, which is then using these nonces, putting it together, doing a little bit stuff there, and then sending out the hash. And gaining this experience was a little bit counterintuitive, thinking about Bitcoin and how it works, but it's genius if you think about it. It's so genius. Yeah, that's just my take on what Rain Bitcoin wrote about that. So yeah. Thanks for sharing this with us, Rain Bitcoins. It's awesome to hear, and I do hope that you gain more experience in what you do, and that you do seek more love in what you do. That's just the beauty about it. And as well with other things, Bitcoin will never end, and it will probably never end to give us more and more experience about these things that we can just gain there. All right, let me jump into the next section that we do have. I was about to talk about the halving event. As far as you do not know, at this weekend we had the block height 840,000, which cut the rewards for finding a new block in half, and now we're sitting at 3.125 Bitcoin that we do get per block, which is pretty low, some people might say. So basically your rewards whenever you mine in a big pool will be cut in half, which will probably in the medium term result in a loss in hash rate. That's my belief. But we'll see how the long run turns out. And I'm just talking about, I'm just telling you what I do think, what I have experienced, because this is my third halving this year. So, or in general, over the course, I'm into Bitcoin. This is the third time for me experiencing a halving. And yeah, it's just a date like another one. It's just a halving like the other ones. And it will happen in the future again. So Rapes-A-Lot wrote about this short-term loss in hash rate and unprofitable miners close, yeah, and they consolidate to the big boys. Yeah, that's definitely what I do think about it as well, because most of these farms, and by the way, a little hint to one of my live streams, or not live streams, one of my videos that I did. I interviewed the CEO of Decentral, a company that's really big in Canada, and I talked with them about a couple of things, especially regulations and what it takes to be a hosting provider and stuff like this in general. And he also talked about like that there are plenty of companies that just got loans or took venture capital in order to become a big mine, and as soon as something major like a halving happens and the sustainability no longer is there, these companies will fail. And in the short term, I do think that's what we will see here in the next couple of weeks as well. And as long as the Bitcoin price rises, and this is no speculation and no financial advice here, I just need to say this, yeah, then probably a couple new companies will come up and the cycle will happen again and again and again. It's just what it is. It is the thing how humanity thinks and how people are just attracted by money and profitability. That's totally fine, and it is what it is. But yeah, I do think that we do see a short-term loss in hash rate, but in the end term, it will be more and more. What brings me up to something that I'm thinking right now here is, we do have some sort of a limit coming up in the next couple of years. Please correct me, anyone here in the audience, if I'm wrong there, but I do believe currently we are sitting at a size of 5 nanometers per ASIC chip. Please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we are getting close to a physical limitation for Bitcoin mining ASICs in the next couple of years, which could also result in two different scenarios. The one would be, the Scottish writing rumors are that the BM1368 is 4 nanometers. Interesting. So maybe we are currently sitting at 4 nanometers, but nevertheless, we don't have that much room to go, to be honest. Like, just from a physical standpoint of view, we have two scenarios that came up to my mind here. The one would be that we come to this limitation, just physical wise, and can no longer increase or decrease the sizing of these ASIC chips in transistor wise speaking about it, which would result in a stop, or in a stop of production of new chips. And this could result into something like we no longer see any new improvements, we just see bigger machines and bigger companies, and it would just be this infinite loop of we only have one last device and it will be there in the future. Another scenario would be that we see some sort of an improvement of how these chips interact with each other. As an example to grasp for you, think about the Apple M3 Max or whatever this one was called. It was basically just the old chip twice and then combined on the layer level with direct lines between them in order to make it faster, because they can now then communicate between each core way faster than they were able before. So these two scenarios I do think we will see in the future. Maybe a third one that we do see there is something else than silicon to use for chips, but I don't see any like that coming in the near future. Let me quickly take a look in the chat again. Rain Bitcoin writes, Bitcoin price at the last halving was just under 9k USD. It is not a far-fetched to presume at the next halving the BTC would be double its price now. Yeah, maybe. And Sir Rapes-A-Lot wrote, think of 3D NAND and how they stacked on top. I feel like ASICs will get to the point that you could 3D stack the lithography. That would be amazing. We have seen it, as he said, like with NAND, like SSD and stuff like this. We've seen this shift in this physical manner, which was just brilliant because now we had this new opportunity, this fast storage that we could use instead of these slow drives that we tend to use before, which was just brilliant. And these days, even with faster lanes like PCI 5 and stuff like this, with these M.2 NVMe SSDs, it's just brilliant what we can achieve. So maybe there's even something else that I'm not thinking about right now, but yeah, I do see that this limitation of just the physical limitation of how tiny we can make these transistors will be a hard one to overcome, or at least to tinker about a new solution for this, to go around this and just think about something else. All right, maybe Scott, you want to come up on the stage, because now I want to go over into the next section and talk about the runes protocol and the implementation, which also comes into handy about the halving that I spoke about. Let me quickly read through what Hawk Frequent wrote in the chat. He wrote, people have been predicting the end of Moore's law for over a decade. Intel and TSMC still have plans for at least 18A, just under 2 nanometers, several generations from now. But yes, physics has limits long term. It's interesting. Do you have a take on this, Scott?
I mean, I can remember, 10 years ago more thinking like, oh my gosh, we've reached the limit, like things can't get any faster. And they kind of always do. We figure out a way to do it. But I think that, at least in regards to the ASIC process node sizes that we're talking about, the improvements are getting smaller and smaller, which generally means, I think, for Bitcoin mining, that the efficiency improvements are slowing down. And we can see that, like, the S9, the chip in the S9 was like 100 watts per terahash, and then the S17 was like just under 40, and then the S19 XP was getting down around 22. And now the latest and greatest is 17 with S21, and then I think 15, something like that, for the S21 Pro. But you can see that the improvements each time are less and less. So I think it's going to have an effect on the mining industry. It's hard to say exactly what, but I don't think we can count on just having massive improvements in miner efficiency sort of generation after generation anymore.
I had quite an interesting conversation with one of the attendees of the BTC privacy event at the BTC Hotel in Ploching, who was speaking about a shitcoin, sadly, but he was just stunned about the fact that his coin, aka token, whatever, uses 6 different algorithms. So he was talking about how massive or good it was to just have ASICs that would be able to produce 6 different algorithms at a time. What I was just thinking about it was like, oh no, this would be so much more complex and would ruin so much more about the integration of how a blockchain should work. That there are probably some software-wise improvements that we could see. As I said once before, 2014 was like this big shiftment, only software-wise, where we saw this intelligent improvement of creating the ASIC boost on Bitcoin and this algorithm that we use. And this had an improvement of like 12 to 20% hash rate, speaking about it, just on a software level, which was just insane for the time back then. Like 10 years ago, we had these improvements. And in the last 10 years, nothing really has evolved in this kind of manner. So maybe we do see something there in the future. Who knows?
Well, ASIC Boost was implemented on a hardware level. It was a change to the ASIC, but sort of.
Was it? Maybe I do talk shit here. I'm sorry, but correct me, please.
No worries. I mean, the whole drama was that I don't know if Bitmain discovered it. There was this guy, Sergio Lerner, that published a paper on ASIC Boost, but I think the drama was that Bitmain implemented it in their ICs, in their chips, their ASICs. The first ones were in the S9, but they didn't tell anyone. And I think they were kind of keeping that little secret to themselves for a while until some people were like, "What's going on here?" Because you can see the effects of ASIC boost happening from the pool side because they need to roll version, and so you'll see these miners that are doing ASIC boosts come back with different versions, and it requires a little bit of a change to the way the pool operates. But when you see the block headers on the blockchain, you'll see these changed versions, and so I guess it was kind of only a matter of time until someone figured out that it was happening. Pretty fascinating story the way it works, but the long and short of it is that it's an optimization in the way that the ASIC calculates the hash.
All right, good that you clarified this, because it's better to have someone who can verify instead of me just talking shit here. Good, thanks for that.
This is kind of a funny story. I went to TabConf, which is a Bitcoin developer conference, last fall in Atlanta, and I was in an elevator, and we were getting ready to go to like the sort of after party that night. And I was in the elevator in the hotel, like going down to the ground floor, and there's this guy gets in the elevator with me, and I was wearing my Bitaxe shirt, and he was like, "Hey, Bitaxe, oh man, I was looking at that." And we start talking, and he was looking at the Bitaxe firmware to try and figure out exactly how the chip worked, because he thought he had found an exploit or another sort of like ASIC boost type improvement, and he was trying to test out his theory. But we started talking, and it turns out it was Sergio Lerner, the guy himself, the guy who discovered ASIC boost and wrote the paper on it. And I was just like, I was very enamored with the fact that such a geeky rock star was there and was actually tearing into the way the Bitaxe works to like work on his next theory, which he told me about it, and he was like, "Oh, I'm doing a talk on it tomorrow morning at like 7 a.m. And needless to say, I did not make it to the 7 a.m. presentation, but he told me about it briefly, and he needed to calculate like millions of trillions of hashes or something like that. Like there was just an absurd number of hashes that he had to calculate in order to like do this, and it seemed a little bit unlikely, but it was an interesting idea.
Interesting. I mean, how high are the odds to actually meet him in an elevator?
Yeah, it was cool.
All right. That's lovely to hear. It's always good to hear a couple big stories about these things. And it's always lovely to hear something about like people that are doing so massive things, exploring about the Bitaxe, your instigation about it, and just how this community grows and people joining in here for that. It's just lovely to hear. All right, shall we dive a little bit into the halving event and the activation of the Runes protocol? Because we do have seen a couple of people posting about it. A couple of people do have a couple of I'd say positive or negative comments about it. Let me quickly read through a post from magicden.io, which quite briefly explains how Runes work and what it actually is. So basically, Runes was implemented by Casey Rodemore in September of 2023. And now let me quickly read through one or two paragraphs in order to give you an understanding of how Runes works. So the Runes protocol is designed for the Bitcoin network, allowing the creation and management of various types of digital tokens. Bitcoin Runes uses a UTXO-based protocol where each transaction starts by picking up pieces of Bitcoin that haven't been spent yet, like a digital change, and use them to create new transactions. Tracing each Bitcoin back to its creation ensures that every coin is unique and hasn't been falsely duplicated, giving you confidence that the Bitcoin you own or accept in a transaction is genuine and truly yours. So, let me read through another paragraph because I do think this is the important part about it. Compared to other protocols that may rely on off-chain data or special tokens, Runes utilizes Bitcoin's native feature for on-chain data storage. This allows for less of the junk UTXOs we mentioned earlier, which can bog down the network, causing transactions to be slower, more expensive, and less reliable. Specifically, Bitcoin Runes on-chain data storage is in the OP return part of a transaction. Picture jotting down a secret note on your Bitcoin transaction. OP return is the magic pen that lets you leave your mark without moving an actual Bitcoin. This keeps Bitcoin transaction neat and tidy because it doesn't add extra work for the network, which can affect the overall user experience. So that's the basic paragraphs that I wanted to read to you guys to get a basic understanding of how this works. Let's see. So we had the halving, and after the halving, we saw a skyrocketing of transaction prices because the Runes protocol was activated on specifically the block height 840,000. So specifically the block which was the first one after the halving, and it got a couple people upset because a couple of people were shit posting on X and other forums about like, okay, Bitcoin is no longer usable. This new stupid ordinals thingy here is killing people. Why do you need people spend Bitcoin in this manner? It's stupid. Okay, we have seen a lot of stupidity about it, but let's get a general term about it. What do you think about it? Do you see any real improvements with using such a protocol that uses the OP return in order to store data instead of what the Bitcoin network has been before?
I mean, I think they're looking for the next sucker to buy these things. It really does seem like spam. Bitcoin is cool because it's permissionless and it's decentralized and you can do whatever you want. But this is bullshit. I would highly discourage anyone from getting involved in this to think you're going to like make a quick buck, or maybe you're going to start a lucrative career in developing for Runes. There's still pressing problems in Bitcoin. If you're a developer of any type, you can work on Bitcoin and you can actually like help humanity by further improving on Bitcoin. I think, in my opinion, this is just a bullshit distraction. I think, I mean, they're free to do it, but there's lots of terrible things you can do in life that you're free to do that are a waste of time.
It's kind of odd because with ordinals we've seen this shift towards this NFT thingy, and you might have your own opinion about NFTs. Some people do think it's genius and it is what people need, and now with Runes spamming through the up return on the Bitcoin blockchain, it does have a different aspect for it. With ordinals we had this increasing amount of transaction costs, and the actual data was not really stored on the blockchain. But with how the Runes protocol works, whenever people create a new transaction on this Runes protocol, like a management of a new digital token, some shit token or something like that, or even just a picture on it, this data will be stored in the long term on the blockchain directly, instead of what we have seen with ordinals before, where they do have some sort of a centralized service which then does store these data or this data. So I do think the way how the Runes protocol tries to get into this type of you need other digital tokens in order to this and that doesn't really add anything to the overall network improvements than what we have seen with previous protocols that have been implemented.
It's an affinity scam. Like, the people are like who are starting these things are genius in the fact that they can just create these essentially out of thin air, whereas you can't do that with Bitcoin, right? They can't just do a initial coin offering or whatever how they call it, minting for Bitcoin, because you can't create that. You have to mine to create Bitcoin, but you can with whatever of the latest like token scam is of the day. And so they can get rich just by finding the next fool to buy them. I think that's called a Ponzi scheme, but I don't know. Don't fall for it. We have a sound money in Bitcoin that you can use for all your transactions, and it promotes freedom, and it by being decentralized and permissionless, and it it's extremely powerful to have a currency that someone else just can't print for free, right? I mean, that's kind of the bummer of fiat, right? Is that I work hard all day to get some amount of fiat when someone else can essentially get it for free, right? And that's kind of what Bitcoin is taking a stand against. I mean, amongst other things, but that hard money. And it's like, sure, you can build this like soft money or these tokens, whatever you want to call it, on top of Bitcoin. Like, it's technically possible. You can do it, but should you do it? Probably not.
I mean, my take on this is we have seen other currencies like Ethereum, which came up with the idea of creating some sort of a virtual machine that runs in the background to allow you the creation of such protocols, or even smart transactions, smart contracts where things happen automatically. And I do see runes, and the runes protocol in specifically here is trying to achieve this as well on the Bitcoin network, which is kind of odd to me because we have seen Ethereum and how it performed over the years failing with this approach. And we saw plenty of different side chains that just evolved out of it because they also felt the need of, all right, the layer one solution is not enough. We need to grow other layers on top of it in order to make it work, which then is just, I don't know, like it makes it more complex instead of just giving out a good solution for what people actually need. And as you said, with Bitcoin, which is the ultimate hard money that we do have, which is just so easy to use, so good to use for just your daily transactions with Lightning, or with like bigger transactions that you can then do on chain. Why do we need something else on it? I don't see the effect or the actual use case for this. And I do need to agree with you, it's some sort of a scam for me, because you're printing something out of thin air.
So let's bring it back to mining a little bit. I think Ben brought up an interesting fact here, is that we had the halving that happened the other night, but instead of the block reward got cut in half, but the amount with fees that miners are getting for mining blocks is well above. It didn't get cut in half; it doubled or tripled, and I think it's actually still up quite high right now.
We are getting back to under 6 BTC per block, so it's cooling down currently.
It was at like 30 for a while, and we're getting back to 6, which was kind of like where we were before the halving. So that's interesting. I mean, it has an interesting dynamic for miners, because I guess one of the things that people get worried about at the halving is like, okay, the block reward's cut in half, so Bitcoin miners' profits are cut in half. And we've seen these ordinals and runes and all this other stuff that kind of just sprung up right around the halving that made transaction fees go through the roof. And in essence, it's bankrolling the miners through this transition, which is interesting. It's hard to say what's good and bad for Bitcoin and what's good and bad for miners, but I do think it's giving them a false sense of security right now. The miners, that is their perhaps questionable business practices are going to be profitable for a little bit longer now.
Yeah, at least a couple more days.
Because a couple more days, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
right. I mean, we're seeing these big mega miners that are they're like publicly traded companies in the U.S., right? They're worth like billions of dollars. I think Riot is just announcing. I think is it a gigawatt facility in Texas, like the largest Bitcoin mining facility in the world.
That's massive.
It's massive, right? They already have an extremely massive one in Texas, and this one's even bigger. And so, obviously, that takes a lot of money. There's a lot of money associated beyond just buying the miners. That's a whole other story. But you know, these extra fees are making it so that they're, you know, still in the black, even with the halving in the block reward.
Mm-hmm.
For now. For maybe this week. We'll see. Hopefully this fad goes away soon.
Yeah, I mean, as we earlier discussed, I do see like we probably will get a short-term increasement in hash rate and overall, but and then a short-term drop in the hash rate because people then realize, all right, it's no longer profitable for me. Maybe this time, if the price stays, because usually people refer back to a US dollar price for Bitcoin, and I do see that a couple of these companies that are smaller will fail probably. Maybe some medium-sized one as well, because they can no longer afford to mine because it's way too expensive. Maybe even with these low prices for electricity that you guys do have over there in the US. We see. All right, let's take a quick look in the chat. Rain Bitcoin Road fees are currently very high at the moment. Yeah, that's correct. Let me quickly take a look on mempool. All right, we are sitting currently, and I'm at block height. What is it? 840247. We're sitting at a block transaction cost of 131 sets per VByte, so roughly $11 per transaction if you want to go the high priority route. Pretty interesting. It's not too high. I mean, yesterday it was well over $200 per transaction, and now it cooled down a lot. So yeah, maybe the short-term hype is over, and now people will realize that the gains are no longer there. Let's see. Crypto eyes. Yeah, go ahead.
I've got my Nerd Miner on my desk here, and it is a pretty cool just like display about the Bitcoin network. I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but the Nerd Miner has 3 different screens, and one of them just shows you like current block, the current like medium fee, the difficulty. Global hash rate. Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's an amazing little tool. It's something like in you don't need to buy this block clock that does exist out there. You just need a little node miner, and you do have all the information that you do need.
There's the current price in US dollars and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I think it's also hashing at like 60 kilohash per second while we're at it.
Yeah, if it hashes, it hashes, right?
If it hashes, it hashes. Only takes one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. All right, yeah. Ben is writing for now. We do have something brewing up there, but yeah, Ben will probably update you all here in the future, and we definitely will have a town hall in the next couple of weeks and talking about something that will come up with the Nerd Miner. So let's see. Crypto Eyes wrote in the chat, if ordinance people can't use the network for basic transactions with $200, that's not good for miners long term. Few days of extra fees for us is put off people with transaction fees. Is it worth it to tolerate spam? I mean, that's a good question. Is it really worth it to tolerate the spam just for having a short-term higher miner fee? I'm not sure. I mean, if you do think out of the mining companies, they probably do love this spam because they make a fortune out of these small blocks, or these small amount of blocks, I'd say. But in the long term, yeah, it's I do agree, it's just spam and probably not worth it to tolerate. But this tolerance thing is a complete whole new topic, because we do have basically two different implementations for the Bitcoin nodes. We do have the Bitcoin core, the original one, which also, by the way, if you're not aware about this, does have some sort of spam detection, you might say, or spam not allowance. I'm not getting the word there for this. And then we do have Bitcoin nodes, which is also another implementation for running a node, which has a more advanced feature for detecting spam and not allowing it to be in the next block template, which is interesting. And some people do argue about it, that usually Bitcoin should be freedom, so you should be allowed to do whatever you want with it. Other people say, no, we need to detect the spam and don't allow it on the block because it's just nonsense. It's hard to say what's the right direction. I do feel the need for not allowing a little bit of the spam, because some of this is just bullshit in my opinion. But yeah, I'm not sure. What do you think?
I saw a tweet that said that you can basically disallow runes by setting data carrier size equal to 0 on your node, and if you're mining with that node, then also I think it wouldn't include those transactions. I think that limits that op return, the size of that op return that you were talking about. Could be wrong about that, but it's kind of interesting that you can do that on your own node and in a way vote against this, and you're still it's not like a consensus change or anything, right? You're still a valid node on the Bitcoin network, and you're just refusing this extra data.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it's a complete new topic about talking about if you should censor anything on the blockchain or not. I mean, back in the days when we had this BSV shit coin out there, we saw a couple of data on this blockchain, which led to a couple of other issues, and people were upset about it, and a couple of other things fought in court about this blockchain in particular. Not about Bitcoin, by the way, but yeah, I do.
Crypto Ice sent a link to the settings you can do. Even if you're not running knots, you can do this on Bitcoin Core.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just check it out if you want. All right. Yeah, I do think this pretty much sums up this kind of topic, because if we would now talk about if you should censor anything on the blockchain or not, it will be another hour here. And
this is a big topic. We should.
Oh yeah.
We should talk about some open source mining.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, I said in the beginning that we do have obviously a couple cool projects. For example, this 0xAX, which is just the better version of the FlexAX, whenever you have discovered this a couple weeks ago. And we do have someone in the community called 997 who came up with a design. Guys, please just go over to the 0xAX channel, scroll up a little bit to, I mean, my time, it's today at 9 a.m. He posted a couple of 3D pictures of like big vapor chambers in order to cool, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these boards, so 160 ASICs in just one unit. Man, we're getting into sizes that are just extraordinary, I'd say.
That's so badass. Love to see it.
I mean, it's just genius. I mean, I always say to these people, whenever I do attend on a stage or speak about Open Source Miners United, that we are in this position, that we are trying to attune to these people that are interested in home mining. But I also do see that we have plenty of these people here around that want to tinker into bigger spaces, like really thinking about big machines with a couple of 100 terahashes, maybe even. So this will be interesting. I mean, we don't really have a limit, I'd say, do we? I mean, sure, we do try to attend to these people that are interested in home mining, a little bit of solo mining, but yeah, I do see there's also this opportunity, or maybe you'd even say this need for open source miners in bigger scale.
I don't know, maybe you guys went over this before I got here, but it'd be cool to get an update from Ben about the Nerd Nitrous. I don't even know how you pronounce it. The Nerd NOS, which is kind of the other side of the spectrum.
Oh yeah. So for those of you who don't know what this is, so Ben's idea about the Nerd NOS is basically that you do have your tiny nerd miner, and then you do have another PCB that you can just attach to the back of it with an ASIC chip on it. And then instead of plugging in the power cable into your nerd miner, you do plug in the USB-C connector to this PCB that you attach to it on the backside. And then with a new firmware change for the nerd miner, theoretically, because it's not done yet, it would be possible to increase the hash rate of your nerd miner to a couple of gigahashes, couple hundred gigahashes, instead of just these 70 kilohashes that we're seeing right now, which is just freaking amazing. Think about it. Just attach it to your nerd miner, and there you go. You just boost your solo mining journey to the limit of the sky. That's just amazing. But as far as I know, Ben is currently not interested into releasing too much information about it because he does not have something that's running. So expect in the future a big reveal about this, and then we probably will do our own town hall just about this topic because it's just genius.
I agree. I can't wait to hear more about it. He's got a channel in the member channels or member projects section where you can follow along and check it out. I mean, it very clearly has a BM1397 on it, which is the chip out of the S17, which is pretty old at this point. But the upside to that is that it's also really cheap.
Yeah, like less than $1, I believe,
I think
right?
even if you were to buy an S21 and take the chips out of it, which is the cheapest way to get the chips for the Supra currently, they're still like $15 each, right? But we can get those S17 chips, like you can get them used for $1 each, and their efficiency is not so hot, but with a small miner, you don't really care, right? And the hash rate is like around 350 gigahash, so it's not quite the same as the 1368, but I don't know, when it's a 15th the price, who cares?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, maybe you just lower down the hash rate a little bit more in order to gain a couple of efficiency points there. So maybe it would even possible to do this passive cooling. I'm not sure. Maybe not. We'll see. We'll see. There's definitely something in the works, some rumors about this. So yeah, I'd say just stick to this community and wait for it because there are plenty of new things that are just amazing. And if you do not have any questions, I'd like to invite Sir Vapes onto the stage because he does have a couple of points that he wants to talk about for the community voice. So if you don't have any other topics that you want to talk about today, Scott, then I'd say like news-wise, we are done. And now we do have a couple of points from Sir Vapes.
Alrighty, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Awesome, good deal. Alrighty, well, there's not too much of a big update, but I did just want to let you guys know that here in the coming days, there's going to be an update to the website that'll actually include a merch store, and there's a release that I wanted to show you guys. Let me go ahead and get it popped up. I'll send it in the chat. But this is one of the new products that's going to be able to be bought on the store. I think it's pretty cool. I think you guys might think it's cool too. But here, let's get that in the chat. There we go. It is a new, basically it's a mouse pad with the KeyCAD layout of the Bitaxe Hex on it. It's actually pretty dope. I don't know, it's in my opinion, but you'll be able to purchase that here in the next couple of days if you are interested in it. So that's all the update I really had. So.
I mean, it looks really good. Don't we already have some sort of a bigger pad, like a whole desk pad? Don't we have something like that as well?
That one's being worked on a little bit. I need to.
All right.
I need to get a little bit of the adjustments. It's not really printing very well. So.
But that's amazing.
There is going to be a bigger version available in the future. Yeah. So it'll be basically kind of like a. This one's just a mouse pad. This one is going to be available. The other one's going to be a desk pad. It's about 35 inches by. I don't remember the exact dimensions, but I know it's about 35 inches long. So it's a little over. It's almost 3 feet. So.
That's so cool. I want a poster.
Oh man. Well, hey, hey, anything's possible. We can work on ideas. So
maybe
just need to get some stuff out there. But all the like, if you guys do buy this does go to OSMU. This is all for the community.
Oh, we do have a question for you.
So. Yeah.
So Schultz GS, I hope I do pronounce this correctly. Ask, do we have any updates on the subscriber levels? So we do have updates on the subscriber levels, and they are, if you want to read through them, they are, I do think, in the announcements channel. But would you mind to quickly go over them again?
Let me go ahead and pull it up so that way I'll just be able to read from that, because it did pretty much have the update for it. I'll be able to link it too. Let's see. Do you have the message on there?
I'm
I'm
currently.
not finding it. Said it was in the announcement channel. Might be in the updates channel, actually.
Yeah, I'm looking through the update channel. I cannot find it there. But basically, if I'm not mistaken
Yeah.
here, please
Well-
correct me. So, or you do go over it from what you do remember.
Definitely. So basically, what the tiers are going to be is the new tier 1 is just going to be lowered in price to $5 a month. That's just so it's cheaper for everybody to do it. Nothing's really going to change with that one. Tier 2 is going to be what tier 3 is now. So tier 3 is the shirt and the OSMU miner. That is going to be tier 2 now, and then tier 3 is going to be basically what tier 2 is with the miner and the miner and the shirt. My bad, brain fart. And then also the desk map for the Bitaxe, the hex, the one that is going to be about 3 feet. The 35-inch one. Once it's finished, I need to work on it a little bit, but that is going to be the prize for that. And it's the tier 3, or I'm sorry. So the tier 1 is $4.99. Tier 2 is going to be $39.99, and then Tier 4 is going to be $44.99. Now, if you get this on mobile, if you subscribe through mobile, like say you're on the iPhone and you just subscribe to it through there, Apple does charge a premium. Your prices are going to be a lot higher. If you want to get around that, basically just log into Discord on the desktop and subscribe through there. Then that way you're not paying, because I think we calculated the Apple takes like up to $12 off of a tier 3 subscription currently. So it's crazy. So if you do want to do that is a PSA to do it through the desktop and not the app. But that's pretty much the tier structure, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I do think so. Yeah.
I thought that was a question for Ben. All right.
Yeah.
But so that's pretty much all the updates I had. Was just that's the tier structures, and then the mouse pad will be available here in the next few days. So.
All right. So then,
That's cool, man. Thanks for organizing all that stuff. For everyone who doesn't know, Survey Ipsilot is the originator of the Discord and the Grandmaster Manager.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned
that. Thank you. I don't really have a lot of experience with electrical engineering, so I'm more the person who runs the Discord, like Scott says. So
I think you're selling yourself short. He knows a thing or two about miners.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. I don't know. I don't really like to brag or anything. So, but yeah, I mean, I do. Basically, my day job is to repair miners. So I repair S19s. We actually just got rid of all of our 17s. So
I bet if we had a blindfolded ASIC soldering contest, Survey Ipsilot would be the only one who could get any of them soldered.
I don't know. Blind's pretty cutting it close. I do have to use a microscope. But
how many have you soldered in a day, you think, before? What's your record?
In a day?
Yeah.
I know over 40.
40. That's hand soldering. Ben's like, I've done more than 40 in a day, but he uses a pick and place in a reflow machine.
40 is definitely that's probably the most I've done in a day. Usually, I mean, sometimes with the boards we've been getting lately, they're just temp sensor issues. So realistically, all we have to do is put a little. I think I've sent it to you before. This little temp sensor module jumper board thing. We just put that on top of it now. So we used to have to actually hardwire the replacement. So like the pads would corrode for the I2C and everything, and so you'd have to actually solder what's left of the pads onto a new temp sensor and then run a 30 gauge wire, to everywhere he had to do it. Oh my gosh, that took hours. Crazy. But we don't have to do that anymore with those little modules.
Well, I probably can't get into it all, but Survey Ipsilot was very, very helpful in the development of the Bitaxe. So much appreciated, dude.
Oh yeah, definitely, man. I'm always here. So, I mean, yeah, if anybody ever has any questions or anything, I mean, I'm always open. I'm here. You can DM me or just at me on the Discord anyway. So I'm here to talk.
Alrighty, it's. I do think that's a lovely ending for this. If you do not have any other questions here in the chat, or from somebody in the audience, then I do thank everybody for tuning in here to listening to this, and I do hope that we see each other the next time here on stage and in the audience.
Looks like Crypto had one. It said win hex.
Yeah, I mean that's
Is
the usual
20
question.
people a record?
Yeah, that's kind of a record, to be honest. I'm not sure if we had this much people before there. It's good. It's good.
This
Thanks
is
for
cool,
being
man.
here in the
Posse's
audience.
getting big and Posse's getting bigger.
We need to spread this movement. We need
Absolutely.
to bring it back to everybody.
Yeah, it's really cool. I see some names here of people that have been involved in this since the beginning, and a bunch of new icons and names. So this is cool, man. It's just like tell your friends, get involved, ask questions, break stuff. We're gonna figure this out. This is the future of mining, of Bitcoin mining. So
You know what? Something came up to my mind. We need a granny channel.
a what?
A granny channel. Because
Granny?
yeah, a granny, like your grandma. No, I'm not joking. Like
For getting her mining, like get
Yeah,
grandma
yeah.
mining
Get-
Bitcoin channel.
Yes, because we need to get these people. We need to get the Bitaxe granny proof.
There you
Like
go. You have to
plug and play.
prove you're a grandma to get in this channel.
Oh man.
Just jokes
Hey,
aside here.
that is a good
You're like,
goal to
have you
work
ever
towards,
written a
just
check
plug and
before?
play.
I mean,
written a
that's
check before, oh my
nah,
gosh.
that's a no for me.
Oh,
You've
man.
never written a check
That's
before?
hilarious.
No, that's
Really, actually,
it's
I
that's
don't-
nothing that was usual here, at least for my age.
All right, you can't go on the
you
Granny
live in
channel
Germany.
then.
Yeah,
Oh,
checks
yeah.
aren't really common in Germany. I remember that. No, they usually just pay with cash.
Yeah, true.
Have you ever bought groceries with a check?
No,
Oh,
you
dude.
can't do that.
Not really.
I don't think you can anymore, but I remember my mom doing that, right? She's a grandmother, so
It's insane.
A long time ago, cool, interesting story. A long time ago, I used to work at a grocery store, and dude, every time they had this, there was this one old lady. She had just fire red hair. She was in her 80s, and dude, every single time she would come through, she would ask for paper instead of plastic, which, that's fine. It's just always much more of a hassle to do than just the plastic bags, just because of the way that they set it up. Anyway. So it was already off to a bad start. We're like, oh, you're making us do paper. Next thing is that she would always pay by check, and she would never have anything ready until you told her the total, and then she would start digging through her purse to get the checkbook. Yeah, she was infamous in our store, but that was a long time ago.
Oh man,
maybe
insane.
we should roll this into the after town hall chat.
All right, yeah, we are sitting here in 1 hour and 12 minutes, so I'd like to close this session here, and I always invite everybody to just join into the general voice channel if you want to have a chat with us. I mean, why not? And yeah, so thanks for being here. Thanks for being in the audience. Thanks for everybody else who is listening later to this on YouTube or somewhere else. Thank you, and I say see you next time.
See you guys.
Later.